All right, everybody. Welcome to the Contextual Christian Church Bible Study, where today we're going to read Isaiah chapter 34, verses 1 to 17. I'm going to pray it in. Everybody, bow your heads. Father, thank you for getting us up on another day to do a Bible study. That we can continue going through Isaiah. We've been going through Isaiah, getting the context, going through different lessons. And I pray that the same with those, the same with this one as well. If there's a new detail, hopefully there's a new detail we can get into for some new notes. Separate from that, let's go ahead and get started. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So last time what we had gotten into, we finished up chapter 33. And I could summarize everything we read by just bringing up the confirmation. One confirmation that we had, first off, is that we are dealing with the end times. We are not dealing with Jesus when he first came back. We are dealing with the very end. And as towards that, we also were dealing with, as a confirmation, the everlasting burnings. In other words, the everlasting fire, it is not that you go to hell, you burn up real quick, feel a little bit of pain, and then cease to exist. No, you cease to exist. No, burning eternally, forever. That's the difference between an everlasting burning and an everlasting fire. So you might have had an argument before, not after that verse. And that verse actually came before the New Testament, which is crazy to think about. The everlasting fire was already known about in the Old Testament. But what we got into also, as we confirmed because we were talking about the end of the end times, that those who are walking righteously, everything in their entire desire and movement, including all their major senses, is to avoid sin and to seek God's will. Those two parts. Not trying to tiptoe the line, not making up their own rules, but following it. And that brought up what it's going to be like around that time. It hasn't ended completely, but got towards the end times. So they're not going to see anybody else. Not even people who were smart enough to say things in deep speech they couldn't understand or anything. It's just going to be the ones that are righteously with them. And this was all coming from an exampleship of Zion and all the children of Israel that are at Zion. And then the last part that we got into is that all the inhabitants are not going to be able to say they're sick, and they're going to be forgiven of their iniquities, and that God is their judge. He's the lawgiver, he's the judge, he's the king. So I have to point out one other thing that was confirmed. Jesus being called King of the Jews, it just said the Lord is the king. The Lord is the judge. The Lord is the lawgiver. So either Jesus is God or he can't be the King of the Jews either, as a video pointed out that I thought was stupid and self-explanatory. But anyways, so that was the last part. So now I'll go ahead and switch it to our first section, as we'll see if it connects to those in chapter 34 in verse 1. Let me go ahead and switch it. All right, and go ahead, Charles, when you're ready.
All right. I'll be reading Isaiah chapter 34, verses 1 to 6. Give it a couple seconds. Verse 1. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. Idumea, there we go. And upon the people of my curse to judgment. The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath the sacrifice in Basra, Batsra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. All right, so starting off, not connected to the last section we read off from our last study.
And why? Don't forget, you got to always add why.
So in our last section, we were talking about, let me go back. In the last section in Isaiah chapter 33. Oh, yeah, this was talking about well, God being the one true, or not God being the one true God, but God being the judge, the lawgiver, how people wouldn't be sick. Things are, God's taking care of certain things. So much stuff going on that even the lame, the people that couldn't walk, could have prayed. There was a lot of good things going on in the last thing we got into. This isn't good things we're talking about. We're talking about God's wrath in my section, and God's fury and what he's playing, what he's doing in that fury and in that wrath, versus like protection and providing, and from the last section. We got two different type of conversations here, two different subjects here.
Good. Yeah, one is talking about protecting the people. This is now, we're talking about the wrath that's going to happen. Good. Go ahead and with your sections then. So we know,
Okay.
at minimum, we know that verse 1 is at least its own, if not connected to the other verses.
hmm So, would I be wrong to say that all of this shouldn't be connected because God's wrath and God's like fury and what he does with that is too broad? Because there's other things that goes on here that needs to be talked about. Sorry, that was a question.
Oh, okay. You did not say that like a question.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, it was a question. Sorry.
All right. Incorrect.
So there needs to be sections. Good.
Incorrect.
Uh, oh.
You are right to say you cannot say that they're all connected, but you are wrong to say because there's all the details that need to be pointed out in every single verse.
Mm.
There are sections in this section. So try again. Think about them
I
from their
got you.
overall point of each verse. Remember, you look at the beginning of the verse, look at the end of the verse.
hmm
So in the first one, what's happening in verse 1?
Telling everybody to come there to pay attention and listen to what I have to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. Then the second one.
The indignation, which that was the fury, that was the wrath, if I'm not mistaken, unless I got that word wrong.
Exactly. No, you're right. You're right. But it's not about the indignation. It's about it happening to all nations. This is worldwide.
hmm
Then in 3,
the slain of the nations we talked about before from verse 2. It's talking about how their carcasses are going to leave that smell and that their blood's going
good,
to be all over the mountains.
good. It's gonna be melted with the mountains, not left on the mountains. Melted with the mountains.
Melted with the, oh, my bad. Melted with the, that's even
That's a
worse.
very different thing. That means
Yeah,
the
that's
mountains
way
are
worse.
melting away and the blood with it. Then
Whew.
go to 4.
For, let me reread because it threw me off when I first read it. And all the
Mhm.
host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll,
All
and
right.
all. Oh,
All
go
the
ahead.
host of heaven shall be dissolved. Is that talking about things on earth?
No, that's not.
You see what I'm saying? So is that the same? Because 1 through 3, is that talking about places or is that talking about people realistically?
Realistically, just people and the destruction
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah. Verse 1 to 3 is talking about all the people being destroyed on the earth. Then in verse 4, we start getting away from the earth. And we're talking about what's in the heavens. Then go to 5.
For the sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment.
Ah, sword shall be bathed in heaven. Well, what's it being bathed with? See what I'm saying? So we got all the people who are being slain on earth in verse 1 to 3, and then we got all the host of heaven. Now, this is an important verse that we'll go into when we get into the explanation. But we got all the destruction of earth, then we got the depiction of the destruction of heaven. Now, what about 6?
The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with the fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, and with the fat of kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Botzrah, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea.
Yep. So does that sound like that's talking about things from the heaven?
No, that sounds like we're back to talking about a specific group of people in this one. Botzrah and Idumea.
Exactly. Now, there's going to be a little bit a potential of a hidden meaning with 6, so I'm giving you that heads up. But how many sections do we have here?
So first section 1 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Second section 4. Let me reread 5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Oh no, because 5 and 6, because of that sword being bathed in heaven. So second section 4, third section 5 and 6.
You sure about that? Where is it getting bathed in verse 5?
It's bathed in heaven.
And where are the hosts of in verse 4?
Verse 4, the host of heaven.
Sure those would be separate then?
The reason why I separated them is because verse 4 is just talking about the destruction of the host of heaven and the things of heaven, versus verse 5, that sword that I had sitting in heaven, this sword is coming towards a group of people, with verse 5 and 6. So, I mean, technically you could put them together, but couldn't you technically separate them too? Because one is just the destruction of the host of heaven,
Exactly.
and then another one is just bathing the
This can
sword in
5
that.
can go either way. The way that 5 reads, it could either be part of 4, and if it's part of 4, then it's separate from 6. But the way it reads, it also could be part of 6 and separate from 4. Because when it talks about being bathed in heaven, look at the punctuation afterwards.
The colon.
Yep. So what's everything after that colon saying then? Behold. So I'm going more in detail. It shall come down upon Idumea. Do you see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So 4 and 5 would be more likely connected versus 5 and 6. But 5 could go along with 6 instead of 4. It can really go either way. But out of the two, which one I would say is more likely based on the context? I would say it's more likely talking about it's connected to 4 than it is 6. I'll
Okay,
explain more when you go through your explanations when we get verse to verse, though,
got it.
because there's a hidden detail I want to see if you can catch it of possible meaning behind 6 that'll make the difference. All right, go ahead. Oh, I forgot to set the timer.
Would it be too
Now
late to
go
start it
ahead.
now? Okay.
Yeah, I might as
Um,
well.
verse 1, like I was saying before, this is for the nations, all the nations. Pay attention. Come one on. Come all, and pay attention. I need you to come over here, listen, and pay attention to what I'm about to say here. Verse 1. Verse 2, God's indignation. So his wrath and his fury is going towards all the nations, all the armies. He's destroying them. There you go. He's destroying them and he's slaughtering them. Verse 3, the slain, the dead, the dead bodies are going to leave a stench. And the the mountains shall be melted with their blood. So the mountains will have the blood melted on the mountains. That's
Wait, what?
let's just see.
Try that again.
That is the whole thing, or
No, just the last one. You were good on the others.
so the slain, there's the bodies are leaving a stench, so they're gonna stink.
That's not the
And
part you slipped up on. It's the mountain
oh,
part.
the mountains shall be melted with the blood. The mountains and the blood is getting melted in this point in time. The mountains be melted.
Exactly. The blood's not what's melting. The mountain is.
The mountain is melting.
Well, I mean, technically the blood is, but it's not the blood by itself that's melting.
No, it's the mountain and the blood getting melted in this
Yeah.
scenario.
Mhm.
Yeah, now I'm starting to. Now we're getting into scary movie, scary vision territory.
Yeah. That's a
And
definite.
then, yeah, and then verse 4, and all the host of heaven shall be dissolved. So the host of heaven dissolved. Dissolved. Just think about it. Think about dissolve the same way we think of dissolve. Put Alka-Seltzer in the water and see if you still see the Alka-Seltzer. It dissolved. And the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll.
Wait. You gave a visual, but you didn't explain what's happening with the visual.
With the visual, so it's not the heaven, it's the host of heaven. So the host would be, which we went over this before. I have it in my notes somewhere. Because when you're dissolving, you're the host and you're dissolving the host. Isn't there a verse I need to bring up with this too to back up what I'm about to say?
Well, I don't know what you're about to say.
When you're talking about dissolving the host of heaven, don't I have to bring up that verse that talks about the because dissolve is to it's getting rid of, but it's just like literally dissolving away. But if you're getting rid of the host of heaven, you're getting rid of we brought this up before, something of the host of heaven and angels and something. It's in my notes somewhere. What
Oh,
I'm trying to bring up is
I get what you're getting at. Okay. You're starting off wrong though.
got it.
The first thing you should have said is there's two ways to look at this. Because when you're looking at it, what is the host of heaven? Either one, it can be talking about all the planets. Those have been listed as host of heaven before. Or potentially could also be speaking about aliens. Host is normally in reference to a group of people, not a thing. But it has been referenced when it comes to planets. So, like, here, I'll get to the exact verse. Give me a second. All right. 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 5.
$23.5.
Go ahead and read it out loud.
And he put down the idolatrous priests or priests whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah and in the places round about Jerusalem. Them also that burned incense unto Baal, to the sun, and the moon, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the host of heaven.
Planets is separated from hosts of heaven in this verse, from the sun, from the moon, all that. Contextually speaking, the most likely answer is aliens. But aliens has not been defined to show that it's necessarily creatures or beings God created outside of angels. So this can either be referencing angels as the host of heaven or aliens. Because if we're talking about in the physical form, how do angels show themselves? Well, we've seen angels show themselves looking like men or women. So if you see somebody coming up from the sky that looks a dude from the sky, you're gonna look at that like that's an alien. So there is potential on both sides. And the same thing here. If we're talking about aliens, this would back up the aliens being true, possibly, contextually, and that they're the ones that are getting slaughtered. But if it's referencing the planets, or I mean to angels, it would be referencing to the fallen angels. Also, but if it's referencing to planets, it could just be talking about all the heavenly bodies, which I believe that's in a specific verse too. Let me see if I can find it. Um, so Luke 2:13 is where we see the angels represented. Go ahead and go to that while I try to find the other one.
Say that one again, Luke
2:13.
13. I'm going to read it real quick. And
Yep.
suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of heaven, of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, okay, you write this down.
And then the one where it could be referencing not aliens or angels, but actually like planets is Deuteronomy 17:3.
17:3.
Mhm.
Deuteronomy 17, verse 3. And hath gone and served other gods and worshipped them, either the sun or moon or any of the host of heaven, which I have not commanded. And what was Deuteronomy reference for?
Possibly referencing planets. I mean, what are our planets even named after when you think about it? Saturn. They're all
um,
relevant to gods of different faiths.
uh-huh.
So when we talk about it from the perspective, whether it's planets, whether it's gods of other faiths, whether it's aliens, all three are possible. But in this specific position, is planets possibly one of them? In four, yeah, right?
Going back to it now, I'm under my sword.
No, you're good.
And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved. what made you go with the planets based off of like this, like strong like possibility
No,
or
I didn't
most likely
say
or
most likely. I didn't say most likely with the planets. I said all three are possible in this context.
yeah, yeah.
Because if we look at it as all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, we've seen the word host used more often in relation to beings, not planets. There was only one verse that we saw, as I brought up, where it could potentially be planets,
Hmm.
but it wasn't even confirmed there. But we did have another verse out of the three where we saw a host, where we did two different verses, where it was confirmed to represent beings separate from planets or beings as in angels. So the most likely would either be aliens or angels, but both of those are equally possible.
That I got.
Yeah. I mean, technically, all three are possible, but out of if we're gonna say one, if we're gonna say most likely, then we're most likely either talking about angels or aliens.
Okay. Got it. So when I should have started off with verse 4 when it talks about all the hosts of heaven, I should have brought up those three possibilities. And
Yes,
then get into the how when we brought up the host, as you did with the verses, there are two verses that represent like beings, aliens or angels. So it could go that way with beings, it being all the
not it
hosts.
could, it's most likely
It's most likely could go
because the
that, or
other
not
verse
could,
that
but
we
most
have,
likely.
planets is not even confirmed in that verse. It's just potentially planets
Hmm.
because it says the sun, the moon, and all the hosts of heaven. Well, actually, no, it says the sun, the moon, the stars, I believe. Let me see. Let me go back to it.
Um, I was just on it.
It said, and worship them either the sun or the moon or any host of heaven, any of the host of heaven, which I have not commanded. So that right there has the potential to be planets, but it's not specified or confirmed there as being planets. So the only two that we have specification and confirmation as possibilities is aliens or angels, because it's separate from planets has been shown to be a thing. And the word
Got
host
it.
is normally relevant to beings. All right, go ahead and continue with four.
So this host is going to be dissolved. Imagine like something fizzling out to non-existence. Again, full
That
Alka
was
says,
so much better than your Alka-Seltzer example.
"Oh, well,
That was so
okay,
much better.
all right, all right, thanks."
Hmm.
Fizzling out to non-existence, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. Sorry, man, I can't get the literal out of my head. I'm literally thinking
No, I
about the
visualize
heavens.
it. Yeah.
I'm literally thinking about the heavens being, and it didn't say what, like, just roll it up as a scroll. When you guys roll up paper towels, when you guys, well, no, I won't say that's Bible study. When you roll up things, when you roll up a cinnamon roll, they imagine heaven being rolled up like a cinnamon roll before you put it in the oven. That's something kids know.
Yeah, exactly.
And all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine and as a falling fig from the tree. So when we're talking about this host falling down, see the leaf fall from the tree during fall. Think of things falling from the tree. Anything you can think of that's falling from the tree. Imagine the host falling just like that.
Exactly. But one problem is that the only way that could be looked at
I
as a
can't think of
leaf
the.
falleth off from the vine. Is that
Mhm.
meant to be literal or is that a metaphor?
If it's a metaphor, I need to think that way. What's a way to think of a metaphor? Because when a leaf falls off the vine, it's gonna fall. It's just sometimes it's a little slower. It's not too quick. Slow fall. So metaphorically,
Yeah, but that then compare that to a falling fig. Does a fig fall slow?
oh, is it giving a representation of it will fall fast and it'll fall slow, but regardless, it's gonna fall? Is it like something like that?
You're still too
Because the
literal. That's potential.
um,
That is possible, but it's so unlikely when you get the actual most likely metaphorical meaning. I'm gonna give you about 10 seconds. What do you call when somebody dies because they were killed? They fell in battle. As the leaf falls off the vine, they always do, and as the falling fig from the fig tree, eventually it does. Both of those have something in common. Of eventually they all fall. Eventually everything of heaven falls. In other words, it's taken out, destroyed, killed.
writing this down.
Now, question. I did say you're going to be like, when I say, like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Do you feel that way right now?
Not with the taken down or taken out, killed. That part, no,
No?
no.
So you think this is more likely uh literal, that they're just falling at different speeds?
Not that I think more like. I just didn't get that. Like I didn't catch that when you brought it up. I'm still like in my head, like oh, I would have never like it, it. wasn't one of those where it's like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. I'm catching on to it. Like it still doesn't. I'm still trying
No,
to
no,
get
no.
it.
I
How
said,
you
I
got that
said,
part?
I said when you see it. Oh, so you're confused on how I got it.
Yeah, I'm confused on how you got the taken out, the killed part.
Okay.
That's the part I'm confused about.
In the Bible, we've read where somebody has fallen in battle. It's used fall and relation to death before, right or wrong.
Right.
As the leaf falls off the vine, what's the vine? The source. As the falling fig from the fig tree, what's the fig tree? The source where the fig comes from. Both of them are falling, and not just falling, but are falling off from the source. Fall has been used to represent dying in battle or dying in different ways before, and it's falling on both of them. Because if you look at it, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as falling fig from the fig tree, those two don't fall the same. All their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falls off the vine, and as the falling fig falls from the fig tree. It sounds more realistic, more likely to say that it's giving two examples where things fall from a tree, or they fall from the both of them, they fall. It's a fact to prove their point.
Now I got it. I got it now because when you brought up the fall, like falling or fall, other ways it's used in the Bible is like them dying in battle, falling in battle, right? Along with what you just brought up with how the leaf falling from the vine and the fig falling from the fig tree, those aren't the same things. As we talked about earlier, how the leaf falls slower than the fig. But
Hmm.
in this, when it says they shall fall, but you're given two representations, you're given one falling slow, one falling fast, but in this metaphorical representation, eventually this host is gonna fall, whether it falls the way it does, or whether it falls one way or the other way. Eventually it's gonna fall. But the reason why it was throwing me off is because when you brought up the way fall or falling's used, the way we've read it in like different battles they've had when people are dying in a battle, I didn't think of that at all to then
Oh,
get where
yeah.
you got to.
Yeah. And the part that sticks out to me too about it, and why it's most likely talking about that, is the part of pointing out the vine or the fig tree. it could have made the same comparison without bringing up that. Why bring up the source? I think, and this is a most likely, this is not a confirmed. I think this is more likely talking about fallen angels or aliens if it had turned out some evidence proved that aliens are fallen angels. That's a potential theory at the time. So,
Got it.
but I think it's more relevant and more referencing the fallen angels because it brings up about the leaf falling off from the vine. What has the vine always been referenced to? The connection to God, the true vine being Christ. Then we go about the fig tree. What's the fig tree? It's the source of the fig comes from. Both of these are showing items falling off away from their source. What's a fallen angel? An angel that has fallen off away from the source.
Got it.
And then going into 5, go ahead. But keep that in mind because this matters for that.
For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. And, not and, behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. um, I'm trying not to do the literal with my sword bathed in the heavens. I'm just imagining that.
You haven't
But
done something you need to do. What's Idumea? Is that a country? Is that a person? Is that a idea? What's
let me go to
Idumea?
Strong's. Sounds like a group of, like a nation, like a group of people.
Sounds like it, but it's not
From,
necessarily.
let me double check. From H122, red, see Genesis 25:25. Edom, the elder twin brother of Jacob, hence the region Idumea, occupied by him. Also, Edom, Edomites. Interesting.
Now, when you think about that, we're not talking about people in this case, right? So why bring up Idumea? Upon the people of my curse to judgment. What?
I don't know on this one. I'm completely
All
don't
right.
know.
What was Adam's curse? What was Esau's curse? He
Wasn't it
gave
about the
up his
birthright? He gave it.
birthright.
Yeah,
Yeah. What would be a fallen angel's birthright? To stay in heaven, to stay with God for eternity. That's a right they have by birth. What happens when they fall away? They sell their birthright.
interesting.
So there's a likelihood that this is using a reference of Edom in relevancy to the fallen angels to explain how they are losing their birthright as well. Because outside of that, what does the host of heaven, how is Edom bathing blood in heaven? Edom is not in heaven. So is it possible that it's talking about the people of Edom? Is it actually possible in this case? No, because Edom is not in heaven, whether we're talking spiritually or physically. They're not people of God. So then if we're talking about them using them, then it has to be some reference to them. Well, what's the reference that the only references we have to them? That they don't they're no longer considered the people of God. They're not from considered part of that lineage. I mean, when it talks about vessels that were made for evil, it uses Esau as an example, where when he was in the womb with Jacob and they hadn't done any sin, they hadn't done any good or evil at all. But God, knowing who Esau was and everything, he set Jacob to be the one who's going to be above the other brother, even though he's technically the younger. And it brought up, therefore it saith God that he hated Esau. So does that make sense?
Now it does. I forgot about the way it because we've read before how it would use Edom not as a say to talk about them, but to describe like another group, to describe like how
Hmm.
evil they are and how wicked they are.
Like it did the same thing with the Assyrians multiple times. So if we're talking
Now I
about,
see where you got. I now see where I see where you got this. I see where you're going with it.
yeah, because Idumea is not part of the ones that are being in heaven, but it says, my sword shall be bathed in heaven, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Well, what does it say in Second Peter chapter 2, verse 4? Go ahead and read that out loud when you get there.
Second Peter chapter 2 verse 4.
Hmm.
For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment.
If you're in chains of darkness reserved to judgment, are you not cursed?
You are.
And it says that, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. What has a planet done to be judged?
That's a good question. Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
planet.
That's a, it's just a planet.
So that's also another reason I would say why planets is least likely out of the three options for number four or verse four.
Okay.
This is why I said, are you sure four is by itself and five is with six? Now,
Got it.
keeping in mind the subject and the metaphoricalness of it, go ahead with six.
The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with the fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath the sacrifice in Batra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. Now, with keeping that metaphorical in mind, I'm totally thinking different than I did earlier with the whole Idumea thing.
Exactly.
Now that I got that metaphorical, yeah, 4 and 5 rather than 5 and 6. What I thought of earlier. That's the first thing. The second thing is this. Well, I'm gonna need help with this one because it changes everything now. Because I thought of them as literally God coming against these two nations, but this no. I have to think about it metaphorically now.
Yep. Let's go piece by piece. The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. What did we just read about the sword?
About it being bathed in heaven,
Exactly.
so it's been bathing in blood. Well, go
Are are
ahead.
lambs, goats, and rams in heaven?
Uh, yeah, they should be. Unless I'm tripping.
What? Where did we read that? I gotta hear this.
I don't think we did.
We haven't. We haven't read about it at all. The only ones we've read about being in heaven are people. It sounds good in theory,
Oh,
but and we've read the whole chronological of the Old Testament. We're just going through the prophets and the other parts now. And we haven't read once of animals being in heaven.
we haven't read about animals being in heaven. Is this just talking about like it's just giving us like sacrifices? When you're
There
saying
you
the fat with the
go.
fatness, the blood of lambs, goats, and the fat of kidneys of rams, these are all sacrificed animals. So we're saying this sword was made with the blood of sacrifices.
Made?
The sword of the Lord is filled with the blood. It is
Filled with
made.
blood, not made with blood. It's not made with sacrifices. It's filled with them. And what was it just describing of killing? Either
All the,
fallen angels or aliens, or both. So the most likely contextual meaning of this is that, first off, 4, 5, and 6 are connected. And it's describing the sacrifice, the killings of all the either angels that fallen away or aliens, if they're not the same. And it's expressing their slaughter as being a sort of sacrifice for God. And then go ahead, as I said, for the Lord has a sacrifice in Botzra. Look at Botzra.
the same as H1223, Botzra, a place in Edom.
Mm-hmm.
And the great slaughter in the land of Idumea, again, Edom.
Now, were the Edomites people that made sacrifices unto God following them?
No, not that I don't think we read that. They were against
Exactly.
God.
Exactly. They may come from the same lineage, but they definitely were against them. So then this reference can't be talking about them actually doing sacrifices because that's contextually not accurate with what happened. So then it has to be metaphorical. If it's metaphorical, what have we been seeing potentially with the metaphor? All these hosts of heaven that are being slaughtered are actually being slaughtered, and God is treating it or looking at it as like a sacrifice for all the sins and everything that happened.
I'm writing
That's
this
the
down.
most likely. hmm I'm so glad we read all the chronological, bro, because we can debunk things like that. Like when somebody says, like, well, my dog's in doggy heaven. I ain't read that. I mean, to be nice, but I ain't read that.
And
I mean, let's
could you repeat not that, not the dogs in heaven part, but the last part you were getting into about how God is looking at the host of heaven?
the most likely is that God is looking at this slaughter of all the hosts of heaven as if it's a sacrifice for all the sins of the world and everything.
All the sin in the world. I got that part.
See, Jesus' sacrifice covers the sins for all people. But here, their sacrifice, he's looking at it as the same way, but for everything.
Got it.
But that's just potential. That's likely. The part about it, like you have to make sure you specify not in relevance to people, because Jesus suffered and died for our sins, for the sins of all people.
Writing that down now.
Yep. All right. While you do that, I'll change it to the next section. And do you have any comments or questions before we read the next section? Now would be the time to raise your hand. All right. Now then, do you need a few more seconds?
No, you're good.
All right. Then I'll go ahead and read verses 7 to 11, not the store, of Isaiah 34. I did that on purpose, I swear. Like, so, Isaiah chapter 34, verse 7 11. I'll give everybody a second. All right. Verse 7. And the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, for their dust made fat with fatness. And their dust made fat with fatness. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompense for the courtesy of Zion, and
Controversy.
the controversy of Zion. Thank you. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof become burning pitch, and it shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. From generation to generation it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. But the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it. The owl also and the raven shall dwell in it. And he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. All right. Now then, verse 7, is it connected to the last section? Yes and no. Yes, in the essence of it being soaked with blood, we're still talking the land. We're talking about them all these animals that are being like looked at as sacrifice in reference to it. No, because unicorns is a rhino, and the bullocks are bulls. Bullocks with the bulls. So we got these different animals. No, let me take that back. 7 is connected to 6. It's still talking about those sacrifices. And then it points out, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance. So it's still connected. But I would say this is a majority connected, not entirely. Because it's connecting the sacrifices and the reason why for it. For the controversy of Zion. We just read about the controversy of Zion. Some people having that wisdom and following, and some people not. And then it points out that the streams, the water streams, are turned into pitch. Pitch is melted down and used to put on buildings or on stones to build buildings. It's a part of how they made the pyramids. But it's melted down, and the dust thereof into brimstone. What does that sound like? Sounds like we're talking about a lake of fire. Then it says, it shall not be quenched night nor day. It's going to keep going. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. Still keep going. From generation to generation it shall lie waste. It continues to go. None shall pass through it forever and ever. When you're in it, you're not getting out. Sounds like we're talking about the lake of fire. After everything gets absorbed into it. And then in verse 11, but the cormorant and the bittern. Well, let's first look up the cormorant. Go ahead, Charles.
Give me a second.
Not a problem.
Cormorant. Strong's from H6958. Probably the pelican from vomiting. Cormorant. So it's a bird.
Yep. But it's probably the pelican from vomiting. So it's not just a pelican. It's a pelican. Like if you look up, go into the from H6958.
All right. The Strong's for that, a primitive root to vomit, spew out, vomit out, vomit up
Exactly. Again. Now, what do we read in the New Testament about those that are lukewarm?
Don't remember.
that they would be spewed out of God's mouth, out of Jesus' mouth, vomited out. What does an owl do when it gets rid of its food? Vomits it out. So we got a vomited bird or vomiting bird, and the bittern shall possess it. And what's being possessed? The land that's not quenched. So the one that's doing the vomiting is the one that's possessing it. Jesus talked about spewing out those that are confusing being rich in righteousness versus rich in money. Lukewarm Christians. Then go to the bittern.
Bittern, Strong's definition from H7088, a species of bird, perhaps the bittern, from its contracted form. So I'm gonna go to H7088, see what that says.
Mhm.
Strong's, a primitive root to contract, that is, roll together, cut off.
So the ones that are cut off and the ones that are vomit are the ones that are going to possess it. The owl and also the raven shall dwell in it. And he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. So it looks like the land of confusion looks like those that are vomited out, looks like those that they didn't want nothing of trying to do right, and they're going to be in this land that is nothing but burning day and night from generation to generation forever. But when we think about the lake of fire, what type of emotion are you going to feel when you're in it? Confusion, emptiness. Sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
And then with the last one. So now, but before we go, do you have any comments or questions as we go to the final section? Now would be the time to raise your hand. All right, go ahead, Charles.
The land of confusion. I was writing the notes on that one. Could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, it's a land of confusion, a land of emptiness. When we think about what type of emotions the people are going to have who are in the lake of fire, there's going to be a lot of confusion and a lot of emptiness. There's a reason it talks about with gnashing with teeth. There's going to be a lot of people who think they're not supposed to be there. That's not the only confusion either. Mind you, we're going off of the premise of the context that we're talking about the end times, and we're talking about the lake of fire. We're talking about a bird that is, even in its definition, it's referenced to vomiting out. We're talking about another one that's in reference kind of like a porcupine, where it's like it's cast off, it's rolled off. So we got, if we look at them for what they're referenced to, we got vomited out, we got cast off. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I wrote all that down earlier too. The lukewarm
And so
Christians,
then,
cormorant, the bittern, cast off, the vomiting.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So we're going to get more of that when we get into verse 12 on. It's going to
Okay.
kind of confirm it a little bit. So go ahead when you're ready.
All right. Just gotta get the Zoom to pop up on the window. There we go. I'll be reading Isaiah chapter 34, verses 12 to 17. Verse 12. They shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all her princes shall be nothing. And thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof. And it shall be an habitation of dragons, and a court for owls. The wild beast of the desert shall also meet with the wild beast of the island. And the was that satyr?
Yes, you know what a satyr is, right?
I have to go to the definition. You want me to do the
Bill
Strong's
from
after?
Hercules. The
Say it
creature
again.
that's a go the creature that's a half goat, half man.
That's a satyr.
Hmm.
I got you. And the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl also shall rest there, and find for herself a place of rest. There shall the great owl make her rest, and lay, and hatch, and gather under her shadow. There shall the vultures also be gathered, every one with her mate. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord, and read. No, no one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it had commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them. And he hath cast a lot for them, and his hand hath divided it unto them by line. They shall possess it forever. From generation to generation shall they dwell therein. So you scroll back. They shall call the no well, yeah, look, no, let me read. They shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all her princes shall be nothing. This would have threw me off if it wasn't for the verses after. This is connecting to the last one you just got into.
Good. Yep.
Yeah, because I had to open my eye to see the rest of it. The rest of it helps me with the
Your
connection
third
with it.
eye. I mean, you didn't
No.
say eyes. You said I. Had to open my eye.
Thanks. Maybe
I didn't
it
know
is
you
my
only had
third
one
eye.
eye. If you were Cyclops, okay.
You'll never know.
Why are there laser burn marks on my couch?
I wonder. So yeah, I got that connected, and I have all the kingdoms and nobles. They're not going to be there. Verse 12. And thorns shall. This is where I'm going to need help with. And thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and branches.
Well, I don't think you need too much. What you're doing is going too much into details. You're already starting to screw up. What is the overall point that could be taken from 12?
The overall point is the people you're going to call are not going to be there. The nobles, princes, they're not going to be there.
The call part is not necessary.
There's just no one going to
The,
be there. I could
there's
have
no
just
one there.
leave it. Yeah, no one there.
Yeah.
Leave it at that.
All right. Now go to 13.
I got to read it again.
Mm-hmm.
And thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof. And it shall be a habitation of dragons and a court for owls. Oh, this deserted place is left for
There you
there's
go.
this deserted place is gonna have thorns and stuff, but the dragons are gonna be there, owls are gonna be there. It's a deserted place.
Exactly.
No, sorry, a deserted place for animals. Let me say that.
Mm, I would say no.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. Two reasons. One is debunked by physical history. In Edom, over near Israel today, are there dragons?
I didn't think about that. No, there isn't. I don't even think they have owls there. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Exactly. Actually, I don't know if they have owls. I know there's no dragons because if there
I
was,
could
people would be talking about it.
I
Like
could
we
look it
even
up,
had
but
in the dictionary for 1946 that there were dragons. They were rare, but when we're looking at it today, there's no dragons there. A place for and what did it say in verse 17?
let me go down. And he hath cast a lot for them, and his hand had divided it unto them by line. They shall possess it forever. From
Hmm.
generation to generation shall they dwell therein.
So all these animals are going to possess this land forever. There's no dragons today.
Just writing something down.
Hmm. You're good. Why else would the Bible bring up wild beasts, dragons, owls, and all these wild creatures being the ones that possess this land? What's the benefit of pointing that out?
The only thing I got out of that was pointing that out is that humans won't be there doing things. It'll just be for
There you
animals, wild
go.
animals.
There's nobody home.
Oh,
So
so no, no, no. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I don't want to throw it
so
off. Go
this
ahead.
is using an example most likely. This is using an example of how when there's no people around, that's when animals take over to express the point that there is no one there anymore. It's a wasteland.
Writing this down too.
Hmm. I do love the fact that it brings up dragons again as an expression. Imagine how common dragons had to be at the time of Isaiah for him to be willing to use them as an example.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is something people don't like. In order for you to use something as an example, it has to be so well known that you know when you use it, people are generally going to understand it. Crazy.
All right, I got it down.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
Nope,
You sure?
I'm sure.
You missed something then. Give you a hint. It has to do with 16.
Let me go and reread. Seek you out, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail. Interesting. When you're saying this, you're saying when you're reading in this Bible, the things we've been talking about, it's not gonna cease, it's not gonna fail. It's gonna happen.
Exactly. But notice something. It didn't say this book. It said the book of the Lord. You
Right.
automatically went to the Bible. What didn't exist prior to the Bible? We didn't have the book of the Lord. We had the book of Kings, book of Chronicles. We didn't have the book of the Lord. The Bible's the first for that. The Old Testament wasn't collected and here's the book of the Lord. The Bible was when they first started calling it the book. And I don't think God did that on accident.
I don't
Because
either.
the point,
This is yeah. It sends you chills. It sends me chills really, like just a little
yeah,
bit. Like,
yeah.
ooh,
Like we with even with the book of the law, that was more specific. That's the five books of Moses. It said the book of the Lord. So, and not even this book. If it would have said this book, go ahead and check it because it's gonna happen. Cool. But that's not what it said.
well, yeah. This is again. I have to say this. It'll these. This is the chills I got when we read about Babylon, and when we all had the Bible study. You knew about Babylon, but I don't think everybody else knew that there's nothing there left. You can't rebuild Babylon.
Hmm.
I don't think they knew that. So when we read that, it sent chills down my spine like, whoa. This was already foretold. You
Yeah.
already said this years ago. Whoa. Before I even digged into the richest man of Babylon, before I even did the research, before getting into this, when it says that in the Bible, it threw me. That in the when we got into, not to take it all to a tangent, the mark of the beast. When we got into that, that sent me chills too. When you
Yeah.
showed me
Yeah.
that, and then what they're trying to do, it's like the Bible's already talked about. The Bible's already prophesied what's
With the
good.
RFID chips potentially lining up with that, with the fact that when you buy stuff, the first, middle, and last numbers in it are almost always six.
That is, yeah, 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 yeah. This is one of those.
Hmm. And don't get me wrong, potentially it could be referencing the work of your hands and the way of your thoughts. Right hand referencing the work, forehead representing the thoughts. But there are some physical things that line up, and that's where I'm like, I don't care if that's not what it's talking about. I'm not taking that risk. I love God too much, and I'm not going to do that. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing with the whole Golden Steer. It's one of the oldest restaurants in America, and it's like the oldest restaurant in Vegas or something like that. I'm never eating there until I can see some information that points out that they chose the Golden Steer because not in any relation to the Bible, but they chose it because they felt their steaks were worth their weight in gold. Unless I see something like that where it makes a clear, defined distinction separating from the Bible and the biblical meaning of the golden steer, I can't take that risk. I love God too much. All right. Now, anything else you want to add or say before we pray out the Bible study portion? Now would be a time to raise your hand. All right. Then I'll go in and pray us out from the Bible study portion. Everybody bow your heads. Father, thank you for this time that you've given us to be able to read your word more, to be able to see more of the references to the end times. It seems like out of all the chapters of Isaiah, at least half of them have to do with either, actually, I'd say over half, maybe three quarters of them, either have to do with the time when your son first came to earth or when the whole world is about to be or is being destroyed and all the universe. And so we just pray, giving thanks for that understanding and to be able to see these things. And should it turn out that it's more literal than metaphorical, then so be it. If it turns out the metaphor is accurate and its relevance to that, so be it. Contextually, we have what it sounds, what it most likely means, and we know what it represents if that's true. And we just pray that as we go forward from this moment, and honestly, God, for this year, I want to pray specifically for our ways in righteousness, that for this year, that for Charles, for me, for Thomas, and for anybody else who ever becomes a member this year, that by the time the year is done, we will be so far ahead and closer in our lifestyle of living to you towards your way that we almost can't remember being the person that we are today or before this year. And I thank you for that, God, and for your help that'll work through it. In your son's holy and precious name, Jesus Christ Yeshua. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Now, just a heads up, I'm gonna have to do the listening after because when I got so caught up with the whole thing with the situation with the load and then the freaking whatchamacallit, with the dude and correcting people about the biblical scriptures online, I completely lost track of time and didn't realize that. 100% my fault. But I'm gonna do two listenings tonight to at least make sure that's accurate and caught up. But so I won't be giving my what stuck out to me today. But on a separate note, tonight's Bible listening, Isaiah chapter 31 through to Isaiah chapter 44. Again, that's Isaiah chapter 31 to 44. Let me know when you got it.
Got it.
All right. And then, Charles, go ahead with what stuck out to you from Isaiah 12 to 30.
So I got something we did the Bible study in, which I'm glad I listened to it again. This one I didn't bring up on the last one finally. Isaiah chapter 19, verses 21 and 22. I'm gonna read it. This is pretty cool. It was
You said that
kind of
like dude the
funny and
roar from Shrek. I'm gonna read
oh,
it. Roar.
you gotta add it to my joke. I'm gonna buy your book
I'm gonna buy your book.
and I'm gonna read it.
So Isaiah 19 and what verses?
The 21 and 22.
21 and 22. Okay, go ahead.
Hmm. And the Lord shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know the Lord in that day, and shall do sacrifice and oblation.
Yep.
Yea, they shall vow a vow unto the Lord and perform it. And the Lord shall smite Egypt, he shall smite and heal it. And they, this is the part, and they shall return even to the Lord, and he shall be entreated of them and shall heal them. When we talked about in that Bible study, when you're talking about returning to something, that means you were originally there and left. You can't
Yep.
return to something you haven't, you can't return to somewhere you haven't been before. If I've never been to Greece, I didn't return to Greece. I just showed up. But if I
Exactly.
returned into Arizona, I've been in there. Well, I've been to Arizona many times, and it's interesting that the it brought a, how we're reading it, how it talked about Egyptians returning to him. There was a point where you were following God, which we can talk.
Hello?
You know,
Oh, bro, you just started cutting out. Charles. Hello?
uh-oh. Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, what happened? It was
I have
random.
no clue. I don't know, but no, it was just listening to that. It's cool that, and it's fascinating that Egypt, to simplify, Egypt returning to God, which means you were with God at one point but left. And you know what? It's, let me say this because this just hit me. You mean to tell me you were with God at one point? Where did all these gods come from? You were with God and then you left and you created Anubis. You
Mm-hmm.
created I don't even, I forgot all the names of them, but I think about that. Y'all had so many gods. You had a god for almost anything. You had the sun god, the moon god, the eclipse god, the grass god, the water god, the desert god, the air god. You had gods for so many things. It makes me think about
Oh,
that.
you know what's funny? Have you ever noticed it's the same way with science?
You're
They
gonna have
just
to break
don't
this down.
realize it. All
You're
right.
gonna have to break this down.
We got the water cycle god. You know why I'm calling it the water cycle god?
Yeah, why is that?
Who starts the process? Who maintains the process? Who decides how much water is going to get absorbed in each individual cloud? And who decides how much of that cloud has to be filled up before it starts to rain? The fact of the water cycle existing, we know that. Who controls it? How is it controlled? We don't ever delve that deeply into it. Like there's no science that says when water is steadily absorbed in the atmosphere at a rate of 5 droplets worth, which a droplet accounts to zero point zero 0.00 microgram, whatever, of water. Um, and and the space of the cloud that's required for rain to rain is equivalent to 1 million tons worth of water. Like no, like
Because
who
if
do,
yeah, and because of those water cycle that you're bringing up, it isn't evolution. Because if you're going to bring up evolution, you have to sit there and explain to people why a certain amount of water goes to the atmosphere to make it rain. If it's
yeah.
evolution, then it's out of control. It's going to do whatever it wants when it wants. If you're talking about evolution, but if you're talking about this cycle where it's a preordained cycle that it's always going to be a certain vapor that goes to the clouds and a certain amount of rain that comes down, depending on the region, that's controlled.
And the fact that it's random in the amount of rain and the amount of cloud is also why I have to look at it like a religion. Because if it was a designated cycle and everything works on plan, okay, tell me how much water is needed for a cloud to rain. I mean, there's got to be a certain amount. There's got to be a temperature, right?
Hmm.
I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about that you will have the same cloud. It'll be in the sky, be massively gray. You know it's absorbed a whole bunch of water, right? Doesn't rain at all. And yet there are times, and you and I have both been in these type of situations where you have one random cloud in the sky, and if it's not even that dark of a cloud, but you walk under and you'll feel droplets. Like it literally just rained a little bit. And so it's like how
Also,
much
think about
it's not
think
science,
about
it's a religion.
when you bring up gravity, it makes me think to myself, when you brought up gravity, I thought about something, and I'm thinking about it now. Why is it that they claim that they went to all these different planets, but there's only one planet that proves that when we touch down, we stay down? Oh, we went to the moon, and when we went to the moon, if you jump, you'll start to just float, and you won't. You'll get to the ground, but it
I
takes a
think they
while.
fell back on the ground on the moon though. I don't want to give you something that's not actually true.
No, no, I'm not saying I'm not saying it's like they don't. I'm saying that on
Oh,
Earth,
yeah,
when
like we
you
don't have any
jump,
evidence for it.
you
Yeah.
come right back down. The
Yeah.
moon landing is still debated. Jumping on Earth and coming back to the ground is not a debate. I'm
And
on
not
the
only
ground.
that, but let's get to the real
Same with
problem with
Mars. With
gravity.
Mars too. They talk about that with Mars. When you're
Yeah.
moving around, jumping around, that you don't hit the ground so fast. Obviously, when you brought up the gravity thing, and then I think about that, it makes me think to myself, obviously we were designed to be here and to stay here.
Yeah.
Were we designed to really leave when these other planets you jump off the ground and you're not guaranteeing you're coming back down? Really? It makes me think
The
about that. There's a
Hold on.
design.
I appreciate that and I get that, but what about the ones that supposedly have greater gravity? Well, you're forced into the ground.
Well, here's the thing. We don't have for sure proof of that.
Well, that's
We're
what I'm
still
saying
debating
though.
the
Uh,
moon landing.
no, no, I'm adding to your point. Is that like
Oh.
I'm adding to them like we don't know any of that. Like you got
No.
ones that they say that the gravity is greater. You're assuming that.
Yeah, you're
And
assuming.
then here's the other part of the problem with that. This is the other part of the problem. Magnets have a pulling power. They pull together. gravity is supposed to be a pulling power, pull together. Why has the moon not crashed into Earth?
There you go.
I could understand if we had multiple impacts and we had 7 moons. We would need at least 7 for me to believe it. I'm just being like so legitimate. We would need at least 7. I don't care how big they are, how small. It's just asteroids, if you want to call them like that. I don't care. We would need at least like 7 because I could believe gravity works the way you say it does if we had 7 moons, because you could try to explain it by saying that they had crashed into Earth and split off and became a different moon. And when it bounced off, there was enough gravity to hold it in place.
Take
I could,
away
you see what I'm saying? Like I
take
could a
away two
little bit,
spots in the world. I think that there's for sure 2 spots in the world I know where my example's about to come in. You can't even explain why the sun and the moon or the sun and the moon continues to go at a continuous cycle. You can't stop it. You can't do anything about it other
yeah.
than giving credit to God for making sure. Because what if, okay, evolution? Okay, cool, evolution on the sun, and then the sun just stops one day. Then what? What?
But
You can
matter
only
cannot
give
be
that in
created and
two.
destroyed. So what happens to a black hole?
I forgot about those. Because I know a scientist is going to say something about the whole, oh, well, there's a place in, I get it. There's 2 places where you can argue the whole sun and moon thing. But here in America, the sun comes up, the moon comes up. The sun comes up, the moon comes up.
Yeah. Here's the other thing.
Every single day.
This is the other thing. You could try to explain it with rotation. You could try to. Why is it the moon doesn't overlap the sun?
There you go.
Because if everything is random and not controlled, you got a smaller spinning circle right next to the Earth and a massive distance from the Earth to the sun. Massive distance. I don't know about you, Charles, but when you have if you have a tennis ball and you have some rope tied to it or pierced through it, and you have another ball that's farther away, the closer the ball is to you, the faster it seems to look like it's going around. Now, if you got the Earth spinning and they're all on their own gravity as it's supposed to go, own gravity, why does the moon never overlap the sun? And if it does, why does it, how many times does it do it? Like, this is why I said that when I think about it from that verse, when you brought, I mean, from what you said, you brought up about having all these different gods that control everything on earth. Science is no different.
Yeah,
That's why
that's
the
now
Bible
I get
says
it.
not to get caught up in science so called, because they always stop at the part where they're like, okay, we don't need to have the existence for God. And they don't go further. Why is it that the ocean can be receding, but in the same location, you can see the land going down? You can't have both receding at the same time. If the land is going down and the water is going down, then the ocean is not receding. If the ocean is receding and the land is receding the other direction, maybe, but if they're both receding together, it would maintain the same. It wouldn't be receding. And then you got things like Lake Mead, all that water that's drying up. Where's all that water going? What cloud did it go to? That's what I'm saying. Like when you brought up about the other gods, I never thought about it till right now. But literally, that's what science does. We call it different things, call it the water cycle. We all call it different cycles, but nothing about those cycles explain how they're so uncontrolled and so random, and at what level they become, and why there's different levels. Like, we know the freezing point of water. No matter where you are, you know how cold it has to get for water to freeze.
Hmm.
32 degrees, I think it is, right?
34.
34 degrees. Charles, I'm pretty sure you and I have both been driving in areas with 34 degrees, and there was water on the ground, and it
32
had been
degrees. Sorry.
34 degrees or 32 degrees. I don't even care. I'll add even 28. I've seen it at 28. I have seen it at 28 degrees where you have water that is standing water
Uh-huh.
and it hasn't frozen over. There are so many scientific cycles and claims that they get to the point of explaining where you potentially don't need a God to do it, but then they don't explain further, and they really don't actually explain the lack of a necessity of a God. It's no different than a religion. And I'll always bring these two up now that I have this in my mind, because I've never thought about it like that till literally you said that. Why hasn't the moon crashed into the earth? Your gravity's falsified.
Or the sun. Doesn't the sun have a gravitational pull of blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
where it can pull whatever?
Why isn't every planet getting closer to the sun? If
When you
you take two
describe,
magnets, I don't care who you are, you could test this. Take two magnets, throw them near enough to each other to gain the connection, and throw them in the same direction. What will happen is they will spin around each other till they clash with their magnetic parts that pull, and both of them will become one object flying in that direction. Unless there's some other crash or force to separate them, they don't separate because that's how pulling forces work. So, why is it nothing has crashed into the sun? Why is it the moon hasn't crashed into Earth? Why is it not getting closer and staying closer? They always get to the part about, like, well, because the force and it spins around it. What? Look at a magnet. You're stupid. I don't care if they're both moving in a direction that's not next to each other. The moment they have enough force to pull together to attract, they collide at a very violent fashion. It's not a nice thing. So that's all. For all from yours. I didn't even need to bring up a verse. Like, yours had enough for, like, for the both of us. Oh, I do have one other thing I did want to bring up about yours though, and that's actually that it goes back to prove the point when we saw with Abraham having his semi lie. It's not a lie, but the manipulation of saying that Sarah was his sister. Um, when it had that, and because he was afraid the Egyptians were gonna kill him and take her as their wife, and God spoke to the Egyptian, that's also evidence that they were following at one point. But it just confirmed it here when it said return.
hmm
I forgot that verse existed. It's going to stick out now. The religion of science. Water cycle. How much water does it take to make a cloud? No idea. How much cloud is needed to make rain? No idea. We just know that it's a cycle that happens automatically on its own, and we don't need God for it to happen. Great. You're real. Good job. Good on you. You explained nothing of importance. Oh, I forgot to tell you this last one. The evolution of the eye. How were they finding food before the eye evolved? What caused the eye to evolve? We don't want to go that deep. All right. So, anyways, anything else you want to add or say before we close it out?
no.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out, and hopefully my trailer's freaking done.
I hope it is.
I'll call you in a sec.
All right, peace.